Hello everybody, it's a new week on Betting Weekly WTA. I am Nigel Seeley, and before I introduce you to our WTA handicapper Tim Dennis, I start every show asking you to do the same thing. Do us a favour, hit the subscribe button, join the fastest growing sports betting community on YouTube, and let us know your thoughts and your best bets on the three tournaments this week on the WTA Tour. He's back from Egypt. We haven't seen him on the preview shows, but he's here. Tim Dennis is after what has been we didn't have a bad Australian Open, bit unlucky with the outright markets, but done all right on a few of the bets, so didn't we, on the matches?
Yeah, not too bad. Perhaps a few lessons learned there. I think I mainly got stung on some of the. I went low on some underplayer markets against some sort of decent players like Potapova against Havlickova. I think one that sprang to mind, and I think Iga Swiatek normally wipes players off the court, and she failed to do that in a couple. So perhaps a little bit of a lesson to learn there. Apart from those underplayer markets, when they're so low at sort of 4.5, 5.5, obviously you really need the better player to get rid of them quickly. And unfortunately, that wasn't the case with a couple of them. But ended well. We were very strong on Rebeka to win the final, weren't we? In lots of different markets, and I think she came through all those. I think you put up the 2.5 sets. We obviously thought she'd get it done, as well as plus 170 chance, and also I think we were quite keen on her to have the most player breaks at. I think that was about plus 210 or something. So it ended well for us. Yeah, unfortunately, Anastasia was beaten in her quarterfinal with Pegula, but looking at the way Rebeka played, it looked like no one was going to beat her that week, and that proved to be the case.
Yeah, it was a good win for Rebeka. All the outright markets available now on the tennis majors, and Rebeka is a big player in all of them throughout the tennis season. And anything we have on the world of tennis, we'll have it covered here on the Betting Weekly studios. As I said, it was a pretty decent week, not too bad. The outright markets cost us, which means we go into this week minus 2 units, 2.56 units. Remember, on the Instagram, though, there's a whole host of different markets, and our success rate on the Instagram page is incredible. So if you want extra picks from us, which do not go on to that figure, these are only on the official shows, you can follow us on our Instagram and across our socials at Because We Win. Now, we have 3 tournaments this week. The first one, and the biggest one, is in Abu Dhabi, and I've been watching it there. The weather looks great, but there's not one person in the crowd. Not literally. I think there's about 10 people in the whole crowd. No one's watching it. But we haven't got any matches as of yet, because obviously the time difference, and they're playing now. So they will be available overnight when this podcast drops. There will be matches for tomorrow available on the BetRivers app. If you download the app, you'll see the prices for the tournament in Abu Dhabi, and you'll be able to live stream them as well. But we do have matches to pick from and bets and the other 2 tournaments. And we're going to start off with the tournament in Romania, in Transylvania, in Cluj. It's an indoor event, so we don't really care too much about the weather. But have you seen any of the action? Have you seen any stats come through yet on the court speeds?
Yeah, I've watched a little bit. Just to mention the court speeds, I think we briefly mentioned it in our preview show. This year's tournament, they've invested in new portable acrylic courts, which is on a hard court sole surface. So I thought it was important to keep an eye on conditions there, because they perhaps might have been slightly different to last year with putting those in. I mean, last year it was very slow with long rallies, and it was important to keep the error count down. I think the service hold percentage there last year was 60.4%. So yeah, really slow. But I mean, from the figures that came through the first round that's been played already, it looks even slower. It was 56.75 was the service hold percentage so far. Obviously, that might change as the rounds go on. But a new surface, but it does look slow. Perhaps a little bit high bouncing as well, which may suit some players. But yes, certainly long, drawn-out rallies, and I think it's important to keep the error count down.
Now, we do not know the order of play yet. That will be announced throughout the day, but these matches will be played tomorrow, possibly in the early hours of tomorrow morning. So make sure you head across to the BetRivers website or download the app to find out what time these matches get underway. But these are the matches that Tim has chosen for us to get involved in. Now, first match is the match between Anastasia Potapova, who's the defending champion here, against Lucia Bronzetti, the Italian. Potapova, as you would expect, being the defending champion, having not a bad year. Did well at the Australian Open. She's minus 480, heavy favourite to win this. Bronzetti's plus 350. Spread here is 5.5. Total is 19.5. There is the usual different markets, the set betting, the set spreads, as well as a whole host of different markets available on the app. And if you're a lover of your head-to-heads, you'll be definitely getting involved with Potapova. She leads 5-0 on the head-to-heads. Never, ever, ever beaten Bronzetti. They did meet in the final last year. This was last year's final, and Bronzetti took the opening set 6-4, but Potapova came back winning 6-1, 6-2. And on that final, on that day, Potapova was minus $2. That's what price she was. Today, she's minus $4.80. Big move, big difference. Is it the right move, or is Bronzetti a little bit of value here at plus 350?
Well, I think probably looking at the head-to-head, having won all five, that the odds are probably about right. I think with it's not often you probably see last year's final being a first-round match. I can't think that happens too often, Nigel, but that's the case we've got to here. And we spoke about some head-to-heads over in Australia, and this looks to be a similar case. It just seems to be that Bronzetti seems to struggle with Potapova here, having been 5-0 down, and I think she lost that final last year in 3 sets. I think slightly interesting. Both times they've played it on an indoor court, Bronzetti has managed to take it both to a third set, but Potapova's managed to come through both of those and all the 3 on the outdoor courts as well. So I think she leads the service points one and return points one to 180-92. So a pretty commanding level ahead of Bronzetti there. Bronzetti's had a poor start to the season. She's just played the 4 matches, winning 2 of them. Both of those coming qualies for the Australian Open before she lost to the American veteran Sloane Stephens, which probably would have been a bit of a dent to her confidence. She was a strong favourite to win that. I think she was seeded 2 to come through that match in those qualies, and that would have knocked her confidence a little bit. Potapova's also won 50% of the games she's played this year, but she's actually played 8 games in total. And obviously she pushed Sabalenka, the world number 1, to 2 close tiebreak sets there in Australia, and perhaps a little unfortunate perhaps to not even take a set there. She was very impressive. She also goes well indoors, having won this title last year. And then she also lost before that indoors in the quarterfinals in Linz to Karolina Muchova. So she's a player who's extremely comfortable in these conditions. I'm slightly concerned about the court speed being a little bit slower. I think that will help Bronzetti, and I think the way she's taken a set in both of those indoors, I think will give her half a chance. I did think it was a tough one to call this. I didn't have a strong view. I think if I was having a small lean, it might be on the over 2.5 sets at plus 190. Looked quite a big price to me, with Bronzetti having taken a set off her in both of those indoor matches. To sort of counteract what I've said there, Potapova in under 19.5 games on a single game parlay. Even that's just playing the plus 102. She's not a player who, obviously she was excellent against Sabalenka, who puts power on the ball and gives her a chance. But Bronzetti's the kind of player who's just going to be keeping the ball in and trying to make the errors come from Potapova's racket. And I think, like I said, with that indoor record having won a set in both of those, it's just going to have to be a lean. But I think over 2.5 sets at plus 190 looks a little bit on the big side there to me.
A lean there. So over 2.5 sets, plus 190. That is the price available on the app, on the BetRivers app. If you download that, you'll be able to see it, and you'll be able to live stream this match in the early hours of tomorrow morning. Hopefully we have some official plays in the next match, where Daria Snigur is up against Sarah Rakotomanga. I think I've said that right. I hope I pronounced Sarah right. But
the French girl, I think we'll just say Nigel.
Yeah. Rakotomanga is plus 320. Snigur is minus 435. Spread again, similar to the first match. 5.5 of the total, exactly the same. 19.5. Same set of markets, pretty much identical in prices on the spreads, but different money line prices as well, which is a bit of a surprise. Seeing it's a minus 435 and a minus 355 and a minus 485. What do you like here? Both of these players aren't in great form. Let's be fair. Rakotomanga's lost 2 matches this year. Snigur's had 2 wins coming into this tournament and on qualification, but prior to that, not in the greatest of form. She slipped down the rankings to just inside the top 150 in the world. But she's a big favourite here, and the other girl is is ranked higher in the world than her. It's a bit surprising, really, to see someone who's ranked lower than you as a plus 320 outsider.
Yeah, I did think the odds would be a little bit closer here, Nigel. Rakotomanga has been a player who's been on my radar since the end of last year, actually. I bet the player she actually ended up defeating in the first round. She went on to win the tournament in Brazil. And I think she was 5-0 down in that third set. And so I was kind of counting my money, pretty happy, go and make dinner. And I came back and Rakotomanga took that third set in a tiebreak and then went on to win the title. So she's been on my radar since then, really. She's a decent left-hander, only 20 years old, improving. I think for those of us that saw she played Sabalenka over in the first round in Australia. She was competitive in the first set. Sabalenka taking that first set 6-4 before sort of getting rid of her fairly comfortably in the second set. But she's a player I certainly think is on the up and going the right way. She started the season in Oz, losing both of her first rounds in Hobart and the Australian Open, like we've just spoke about. But she won her first title there in Sao Paulo. And like I said, I do think she's the player who's going to keep improving this year. And I think court conditions should suit her with that sort of high bouncing, slower court. Snigur has already played 2 matches here in qualies, and she's looked good so far. She hasn't dropped a set. In fact, she's dropped no more than 3 games in both of those qualifying matches. So she's been fairly impressive. She also lost in the final qualifying round of the Australian Open. She's had lots of wins to her credit, but most of those have come at ITF and challenger level. So I do think this is a little bit of a step up here for her. And even though she's ranked 144 in the world compared to 116 for Rakotomanga, I'm surprised that she's as short as she is, -435. I think you'd probably want to be a fairly brave man. I'm not going to put anybody off the win market on Rakotomanga, but I did think the safest way to get with her was she's +115 to win a set with Bet Rivers. And I thought that was more than fair. Like I said, I wouldn't put you off the 320 for her to win the match, but +115 on her to win a set, I think is certainly good bit of value.
Got a little bit of bad news for you. The lines have moved a little bit. The money line now is -375 and +280. Spread is 4.5. And unfortunately, to win one set, she's +104. Is it still value?
Okay.
+104?
I think so, yeah. I think so. I think anything plus money on her to win a set is fair here. Like I said, it wouldn't shock me at all if she was to go on and take this match. She's played the better level of opponent lately and the better level of competition. So I still think plus money, yeah, I mean, that's moved in the past. That was probably half an hour ago I was looking at this match. So the money has come, which I'm not worried about too much. Obviously, I wish we'd have got the +115, but I think anything plus money on her to win a set, so +104, I still think that's fair. So yeah, that'll be our first official play of the day there. Rakotomanga win a set at +104. You said, Nigel?
Yeah, +104.
Yeah.
So there's our first play. Rakotomanga, the young French girl, to beat Snigur, +104. That is our pick. Our next match and our final match over in Romania sees a Romanian player, and Romanian players do very well in this tournament. And I'm quite sure this girl's going to do very well, but she's Elena Gabriela Ruse, and she's up against Rebeka Masarova. -345 for Ruse. Masarova is +260. Spread 4.5. Total 20.5. Usual markets available. One time they've met before was in 2023. It was in this tournament again, I think it was. And Ruse won 6-1, 6-4 in the semi-finals. So she's got to the final that year. I saw Ruse play last year against Paula Badosa, and I bet her on the money line, and I bet her at the French Open. I bet her on the money line. I think I bet her in play as well. And how she lost the match, I'll never know. She won the first set. I think she was a break up or a double break up in set number 2 and threw it away. And I vowed never ever to trust this girl ever again. A lot of women tennis players, I say that about.
I'm forgiving her, yeah.
But I won't be betting her at -345 unless you can convince me otherwise, Tim.
Well, I think -345 probably is a little bit short, because I think Masarova was actually favourite for their match back in 2023 at this tournament, like you mentioned. With obviously she leads the head-to-head. Ruse, I've been quite impressed with her this year, though. She's won 6 of her 9 matches this year so far, and I think en route she beat Diana Yastremska at the Australian Open, which is no mean feat. And she also beat Tomjanovic there. She's also got wins over Siniaka this year and Somnes, who's been in really good form lately. So I think she's in pretty decent nick coming into this tournament, and she's going to be, with it being a home tournament and Romanian players going well here, she's going to be fully motivated to do well here. I think Masarova, she's a player that we don't see a huge amount of. I think she's definitely got question marks over her fitness. I think she's only played 3 games so far this year, winning just the one in US Open qualies. And in fact, I think she's only played 6 matches since the end of August last year. So that kind of tells you she's definitely got a few fitness questions to answer, and she's not the most robust of player. Ruse goes well indoors. She won a W75 in Serbia last year. And I think with that, even though it's just the one match and at the head-to-head record, I think with the consistency she's showing and the lack of consistency Masarova's showing, I thought the best way of getting with this game, if you can do a single game parlay with the Bet Rivers offer, you can get Ruse to win the match in under 20.5 games at plus 117. I think looks a pretty good way to go. I think Masarova's certainly got questions to answer over her current sort of fitness levels and state. And I think Ruse, having started the season well, coming to a tournament that she's probably had on her radar for quite a while now, she'd have had this marked out as to somewhere she'd like to really do well, and a player who does go well indoors as well. I think for her to win the match in under 20.5 games, you can get plus money. Looks the best way to go here.
Official play?
Yeah, that will be second. I think we're just going to have the 2 official plays today. Yeah, 2 officials and 2 leans. But yeah, that'll be our second official play. You're concerned, aren't you, Nigel? Yeah, you're concerned.
I don't like Ruse. Honestly, it was awful. Badosa was there for the take, and she couldn't do it, and she just choked big time. Anyway, there is an offer with us. Sorry.
I was just going to say, I think Badosa was a player we mentioned to be wary of in our previews for Abu Dhabi, and I think she's out at the first hurdle already. So another player to be wary of right now.
Exactly. There's another offer. We teamed up with Bet Rivers to give you another offer. It's February Fun Bet. Tennis, soccer, basketball, whatever sport you're following right now, bet on it with a February Fun Bet. Betting Weekly and Bet Rivers have teamed up to give you a $10 bonus bet at Bet Rivers when you enter the bonus code BW201. That code again is BW201. Offer expires on February the 15th. Must be 21, eligible players only. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. So there it is, February Fun Bet. So you've got a couple of weeks to get involved with that and receive your $10 bonus bet at Bet Rivers. Okay, let's move on to the next tournament. And we are moving. We didn't really preview this tournament. We did it on the Instagram. This is Ostrava when we did the preview show. If you haven't seen it yet, it's available on the YouTube site. Ostrava, they didn't have a draw. So you've given your thoughts on Instagram exclusively at Because We Win. But what's the conditions like here? What from your readings? I mean, it might be difficult to say because we haven't seen much tennis, but what are you expecting it to be like in Ostrava in the Czech Republic?
Yeah, obviously another indoor tournament here, which is good use really, because I think pretty cold conditions outside in both of these countries. But Ostrava, yeah, from what I saw, the stats that came through for that first round there, that's a little bit quicker than in Romania. I think the service hold percentage in the first round there was 62.2%. So yeah, just a little bit quicker than Romania. So I think obviously still not quick compared to what we're talking about, places like Abu Dhabi and what we've seen in Australia recently, but certainly quicker than Romania. So I don't think this is going to be such a grind. I think it's a little bit lower bouncing. I think you can probably hit more winners here, and I think it probably suit the stronger players certainly more than we spoke about in Romania there. So even though they're both indoors, slightly different conditions, a little bit quicker here.
Now, we're going to talk about a girl who's in a bit of a slump at the moment, Katie Boulter, dropping down the rankings like a stone at the moment, only 1 win in 4 matches this year, but yet she's still a fairly heavy favourite at minus 205 to beat Lucie Havlickova. Don't really know much about Lucie Havlickova. Well, interested to say, but I do know enough about Katie Boulter that I wouldn't trust her against anyone at the moment. She's up against a local girl, 20-year-old Czech player, who's moving up in the rankings. Not so great at the moment. She lost her last 2 matches, but prior to that, she's had a good run on the Challenger circuit, the ATF Challenger circuit. But what do you think of this? Katie Boulter, I mean, any time I see her minus money, I've got to avoid it like the plague at the moment.
Yeah, I think once again you're going to have to be a brave man getting stuck in at heavy minus money on a Brit, Katie Boulter here. How often do we say that about Brits at minus money? I think it's certainly placed here. Havlickova, a local player, she's in here because it's her home tournament. Obviously, this is the first head-to-head. She's played just the 1 match this year, losing to world number 212 in a W75 in Portugal. So that kind of tells you the kind of level Boulter's playing here. Boulter's just 1 from 4 so far this season, winning in her first round in Auckland. But a couple of those losses have come to, I think one was in an exhibition, and the other 2 came to Elena Svitolina and Belinda Bencic. So I think losses you probably expect. So I don't think she's going to be too disappointed coming here. Havlickova, she's stepping up in levels. Like I said, obviously this is a home tournament, but she should find this a pretty big challenge compared to what she's been playing lately. I think she's ranked 276 in the world, and the average of her last 8 opponents average would be 246 in the world, the player she's played. So even someone of Katie Boulter's level at 120 in the world, this is a big step up for Havlickova. Having said that, Boulter's won 7 of her last 10 matches against players ranked outside the top 100, but she's only won 2 of those in straight sets. So it's not something she finds or she gets done too comfortably here. So I just thought, again, this is a little bit of a tricky match to call. I thought Boulter would win this game, but the minus money there, it doesn't offer you anything. So I think over 2.5 sets is just another little bit of a lean here. I think that's shortened up. It was plus 145 when I looked this morning, and that's shortened into just plus 140 there. And I can see why. The home hope, she's obviously going to have support. Boulter probably not many match wins under her belt, probably lacking in a bit of confidence. It wouldn't surprise me if she does get this match done, but it wouldn't surprise me if this goes the distance either. So I wouldn't put anybody off the sort of the plus 270, 2-1 Boulter either. But I think, yeah, just to lean over 2.5 sets here at plus 140 makes sense.
Another lean, another long game. Katie Boulter, Havlickova, over 2.5 sets, plus 140. Check out the latest prices on the Bet Rivers app. We do not know the order of play just as the timings yet, but again, this will be expected to be the early hours of tomorrow morning, Tuesday morning. So head across to the app and you'll see those timings. Remember that offer, what I said there. The offer is it's the February Fun Bet. Tennis, soccer, basketball, whatever sport you're following right now, bet on it with February Fun Bet. Betting Weekly and Bet Rivers are teamed up to give you a $10 bonus bet at Bet Rivers when you enter the bonus code BW201. That code again, BW201. Offer expires February the 15th. Must be 21. Eligible players only. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Tim, give us a recap of the official plays, please.
Yeah, the official plays there are, we're going to have an official play on Gabriela Ruse in a single game parlay. So Ruse to win the match and under 20.5 total games at plus 117. And the other official play would be Sarah Rakotomanga to win a set, yes, at plus 104. I think it is a little bit of money for that shortened up, but I still think plus 104 looks just about okay. Just a quick check there. I think the Alicia Parks, who we put on the Instagram, she's just won her first set match. So hopefully she's on the way to getting through. She was the player we put up on the Instagram if anybody's followed. So hopefully she can win today and keep winning.
Yep, keep across all our content on Instagram and our socials at Because We Win. And I'm back tomorrow with Sean Calvert to look at Betting Weekly Game Bet Match and on Wednesday on the 250 in Montpellier. That's it for this week on WTA. See you all again on Saturday. Take care. Have a good week.